recall the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to start with approval of the agenda.
Yeah, we could do that. Then I put the nomination for municipal officers on the top, so
Okay,
that's where I put it. I didn't know how you really want to do it.
At that particular point, but. And I'm not sure if you want to handle it as a slate of officers or just one at a time.
this is late.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think somebody made a motion and we I think we did all three of them at the same time.
Yeah, the slate, if you would like to do that, the slate would be, chair is Velma, vice chair would be Tom, and secretary would be Dan.
Yeah. Phil, are you interested in any office?
I'm good.
Yeah, we have to ask you every time, but yeah, you have to make the motion, so.
Okay, do we want to go right to an election of officers?
Yeah, why don't we do that, and then we're all official at that point. And you want to do the slate?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can get Phil to make the motion to approve the slate of officers as presented, then we can get a second and then we'll go on. There you go.
And we do need a second.
Second, might as well. Second for Velma Jones as chairman, Tom Danleth as vice chair, and myself as secretary.
There you go.
Any other discussions? Then all in favor?
Okay, great. Thank you.
Turn my microphone on now. There we go. Approval of the agenda. Any changes, any additions or,
I don't have any additions.
okay,
Keith, you don't have the committee, all the committees that we support, you're gonna do that for the,
Well, oh, that's right. Yeah, the ones that you guys serve on. I
Right.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I do not have that, Dan.
we'll do that at our next meeting.
Yep. Yeah, hopefully, Jason will be here, so.
And anything else? How about public forum? Any public comment on non-agenda items?
did we approve the agenda? I'll approve it, make a motion. to
Oh,
approve the agenda as
Be a good idea. Dan made a motion to approve the agenda.
Gotcha.
Second? Yeah, Tom seconded that. All in favor? There we go. Sorry about that. And now public forum, anything from anyone for public forum? Okay, how about approve the minutes of June 24th?
Make a move, we approve as presented.
Motion made by Dan, seconded by Phil. All in favor? And did you find out anything about the ticks?
No, not yet.
And no, any committee and board reports? No committee and board reports?
Nope.
No. How about the manager's report, the compactor and container status?
Yes, just to let you know that the containers are already here. They may have already been put into service. If you've been up there either Wednesday or Saturday of this past week, you may have seen them. The contractor had asked us to wait 1 additional week. He was tentatively scheduled to do it this week, but the compactor will go in starting next week, next Monday. We had a few things that we thought he was doing and he thought we were doing in terms of making sure the electrician had been there and had put the necessary appropriate changes in place before the new compactor went in. So our hope is to have that on site, ready to go next week, by next Wednesday is our hope. They said they need 2 complete days to finish it up, so that's our hope.
Are we, that compactor, is that set up for 2-phase, or do we have to do something for 3-phase on that, or how?
You have to do the same thing we've done. There's a phase converter that's already there, so we didn't have to purchase that. Just a matter of hooking up to it, as I understand, so. We'll see how it works. You'll see it in the payable warrants, but both before the meeting started, just to let you folks know that we've had 34 people have returned their punch cards to us to date for $781. So there'll be more coming, but it'll be in your warrants for this year, for this process. The next thing I had was that just to provided a email to you on the Ed McDonald Safety Grant that was awarded to the fire department in the form of a reimbursement check for $2,975 that included the purchase of new fire hoods for the fire service. If you know, I'm sure you've seen the hoods. They go on after they put them on if they're going into a fire, then the helmet goes on and then their face shield goes on. So it's a hood that goes over to protect the rest of their face. So those were nice enough to get ordered and get in. So they're in. Just a little bit more on the noise complaint that we had out on 660 Alfred Road. We're still working due diligence in reference to that complaint. Jim had gone out after our meeting to talk to both the business that runs the shop and the dyno. At that point, he'd come back and said they had unofficial decibel meters that were located at the shop, and the normal traffic just driving down the road unofficially was 65 decibels. When Agway had their fan going on their garden center, that was 100 decibels. And when the dyno was operating, it operated for 5.5 seconds, and obviously the decibel meter was right off the chart. So when Jim came back, we went ahead and ordered a certified decibel meter that is in-house now. It's calibrated. We're getting prepared to go out there and take some readings around the whole perimeter. But I think the interesting thing is that just as a normal course of business, that there's a noise violation for people just traveling up and down the road at this point. So I think there may be an ability for the planning board to maybe look at the noise ordinance again, and those decibel readings that have been that are in the ordinance may have to be upped as a result of the physical activities that are going in and around those areas now. So that was interesting information, but we'll get better readings with our own calibrated system, and we'll be able to provide those to you. And It's our hope that we may be able to get a little bit more of cooperative effort. But I found that the dyno information was interesting. It doesn't run very long,
No.
but it is loud when it runs. So I don't know how we'll approach that process as we go, but
Yeah, like I said, I went by one day and it scared the daylights out of me. I had my window down and I didn't know what the hell it was. I thought it was a jet that was flying by. It scared me. Then I realized what was going on. But
Yeah.
Have they been receptive to anything?
Jim and the property owner have been talking very well. They're
Good.
more than happy to have folks come on and take their readings and so on and so forth. So I think they're realizing the same thing that we're all realizing now, that the ordinance may be very challenging in order to enforce it based on the parameters that we have for decibel readings that are there now. So, but again, we'll have more information, and then at that point, it may be appropriate for us to let the planning board know that they may want to revisit the noise ordinance in terms of modifying the decibel readings. I'm not sure if it needs to go per district or something that we probably should chat a little bit about as to how we're going to manage that as well. Because I don't know, in a neighborhood setting, if 60 or 65 decibel readings isn't inappropriate as opposed to a business location along the corridor, be it either Route 1 or Alfred Road, or maybe to a certain effect, portions of Limerick Road during the day.
Well, you gotta think that like the fields, when they hay the fields, some of that equipment, some of those tractors are pretty loud.
I'm sure they're
And I'm sure they're over 65 decibels.
right.
So, so that's gonna be, it's not gonna be an easy task for them to
No,
look into that.
no. So, we'll work on it and see what we can come up with, but
Hmm.
I'm not quite sure. And we may even want to look at what other communities are doing in terms of noise enforcement, which is a very big challenge, obviously.
Well, I know it was a big thing a while back when Bentley's had first opened about noise at the board, his property level. And I remember going back and forth and between noise and visual, and he ended up having to put this big tall berm with trees in it to
Mhm.
help for the sound and,
Mhm.
but I thought we were taking readings at the time, but maybe we weren't. I don't.
Well, I'm not sure. You probably did. Did you have somebody come in and do?
Yeah, I thought we did. Yeah.
Okay. Did you hire a professional to come in and do that? Yeah. That's it.
Couldn't remember, but I knew that we run into that. Yeah.
Well, I think what's happened too, folks, is that the cost of these decibel meters have come down significantly. I mean, we paid it's in the warrant, $347 and some change for a good one. So it's not top of the line, obviously, but it's not the cheapest. You can buy them for like $26. So I'm sure that some people maybe.
You can get an app on your phone.
That's right.
Free.
Yeah. So anyway, we have one that's according to the ordinance had to be ANSI certified, which it is. So,
Cheers.
Yeah. You might want to set it up some Sunday afternoon across the street from Bentley's, because you can be standing there getting something to eat and one of those motorcycles will take off and it sounds like a jet plane. They are not, some of them are not quiet.
well, they're what do we used to term it? Boys with their toys.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were younger, they weren't as loud as they are today. So. The next thing I had was under business would be the payroll warrant policy. I updated, according to the suggestions that we were at your last meeting, eliminated the selectmen to select board. So I entertain a motion and signing of this document.
I make a motion, we approve the select board's policy for, warrant.
By FY 25.
Yep.
Motion's made. Do we have a second?
You do. Second.
Okay, second by either one. All in favor?
Next thing I have, the planning office provided me a update on certain fees that were within their. These are fees that they're presently charging, but they weren't on our fee schedule. So I highlighted them in red on your fee schedule. And obviously the septic was $300. Plus, there's a $15 DEP surcharge that we did not have in there. So the total is now $315. That will be on the first column under septic. And then the other change had to do with staff, a staff review committee decision that's being appealed. We have one of those that is coming up now. It's appealed to the planning board and the charge is $500 to do that. That includes the application fee plus all the information has to be submitted to the paper and so on and so forth. So that's why that is there too in red at the bottom of the second column down the bottom under zoning board of appeals.
Does any of those fees get, those appeals fees, did any of those get reimbursed if the decision is in the applicant's favor?
No.
No, okay.
They do not get reimbursed. They're for us to administer them. So what I'd be seeking here would be adjustments to your fee schedule based on the DEP surcharge under septic and the staff review committee decision appeal to the planning board under zoning board of appeals.
I'll make a motion, we approve the fee schedule as presented.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second? Yeah. Second by Phil. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
Nobody's suggesting we should be reviewing the other fees
Um,
at this point on it.
They have not come up with that. No, no, I think we're all set. I did ask that to the planning office. And at this point, they felt that everything else was fine.
Yeah.
The next thing, if you recall, at your Article 35 of the annual town meeting vote, there was, once that vote was approved, there were a letter that had to go to various dignitaries in the federal government, including the president, our governor, our representatives, both senators and congresswomen. So I provided to you just a sample, but in essence, the letters are generically the same. And what it says is that the voters of the town of Arundel at the annual town meeting, which took place on Wednesday, June 12th, approved Article 35, which said the following, and then I wrote, quote, as the warrant said. And then at the bottom, I said, on behalf of the voters of the town of Arundel, we pass along their approval of the article for your consideration. I try to keep it as generic as possible because I really don't know the position of you folks. I didn't watch your hands go up at the annual town meeting or anything to those extents, but because of the approval, we have an obligation to send that along. So that's why I wrote it the way it was. So if it meets with your approval as written, I will send each one of the letters down for your signatures.
well, we don't, this has already been voted on at town meeting, right?
Correct. But part of it was to send to members, town to Arundel's members of Congress, the President of the United States and the Governor of Maine within 30 days of the vote.
Okay.
So that's why it's here and before you.
So we just have to approve sending it out, signing it, and sending it out.
As I understand, yes, that's the way I presented it. So it would go to President Biden, Office of the Governor, Governor Mills. The letter would go out to Senator Susan Collins at her office in DC, along with Senator King and Representative Pingree.
I make a motion, we sign the letter for Article 35 as presented.
Okay, motion's been made by Dan. Do we have a second?
Second.
Tom seconded that. All in favor? Ready? Yep. Send them down.
And do more signing than anything tonight.
Yeah. There we go.
You all set?
Yep.
The last thing I had was, I provided you in your packet a series of emails that have been being exchanged between MDOT, myself, which has been corresponded not only to you folks via email, but various the commissioner and various people within MDOT, just seeking, as you know, we were looking for the commissioner's involvement relative to all our requests to just reduce the speed. And I think as we suspected, they came back with their policy and process, which is if you want that to happen, then you need to have a speed study done. So I guess we're at that point. What I found interesting in the last email exchange I had with representative from the MDOT was, I did not realize that they are already doing part of the speed study, engineering long-term speed study, from the Biddeford line to Dairy Lane. So they're looking at that already. If we want them to look at the rest of it from Dairy Lane on, then we need to request that in writing of them. So if it's your intent to continue to do that, I will prepare a letter and send a letter out to them, but I wanted to have that exchange with you folks before we did it. I did drive it the other day, and again, I drove it when there's no essentially traffic out there. And obviously I think that, coming out of Biddeford, it should be at least 40 miles an hour to the Limerick Road section. from there along up to Hill Road, it didn't seem like the flow of traffic was fine, but what I think is can be very cautious, and I think the crash study will tell us that, is that what occurs at Hill Road is that folks are trying to beat that light. And as the light is turning yellow, they're accelerating, then they get to red, somebody behind them is already accelerating as well. They slam on the brakes and we have those rear end collisions that are occurring there. Luckily, we haven't had any that have really taken anybody's life. So, and then from the Hill Road intersection, it's pretty well 50 miles an hour all the way to the Lyman Town line where it goes back to 45. So not quite sure if you want to request MDOT to do the whole length as we had initially suggested, or at least see if we can get their study to go to Hill Road, which I think would for me, if we were going to make any compromise, that certainly would be the compromise that I would do, because I think when you try to get out of Limerick Road and turn west to get on Elford Road, if you're not on the ball, you could be in trouble. And I think what's happening, even at 50 at the top of the hill right now, they're coming down that road 60 or 70. If we get it down to 40, perhaps they're going to be slowed down. I tried to express that to the DOT engineer in my very common sense approach, but it didn't appear that it got very far with him in terms of what I was trying to express. But so whatever you'd like to do.
Where is Dairy Lane?
Dairy Lane is right where
Butter.
where Kate's Butter is.
Oh.
Yeah, it's right next to, well, you're before, are you before or after Dairy Lane, Phil?
It would be after.
Before.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you're before it. Okay. So that would be,
Yeah, I mean,
however you want to handle it. If we want to go for the whole enchilada, we'll certainly write a letter in reference to that. If we want to try to be in the middle somewhere, I think at least a Hill Road at 40 miles an hour is a reasonable request. But whatever you decide is fine with me.
I'd like to see it at least go to the Hill Road to include the Limerick Road.
I mean, I know that, I don't know if you go that way home, Tom, or very
Every day.
frequently. You do. So what's it like when you get from Hill Road beyond, heading up towards Lyman? Is it 50, 55?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Or more, without
Okay.
question, yeah. Yeah, and the 45 at Lyman doesn't mean anything to people either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I suspected as well.
Mm.
I think it, obviously it maybe comes down to enforcement too. I mean, if you get out
Right.
there and enforce some of that, but I think the uniqueness of both Lyman and Arundel is that we don't have full-time police presence out there. And as a result of that, I think people try to take advantage of it. So,
I'll tell you what I run into this so often is when I'm traveling that road is somebody from Sanford all the way down, they'll do 35 miles an hour instead of doing a speed limit. And then that backs up and now people are trying to pass, and that just, to me, that is so dangerous. People just, they won't even do the speed.
they won't do the
I know
speed
the
limit.
majority is that they fly, but
Yeah.
maybe it's my luck, but I run into this all the time. I get people that go way less than the speed limit.
Well, it's funny, some staff that drive that road every day to come to work, mentioned it today. They were trying to get to work and the person in front of them from Springvale all the way down was 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So, and it gets frustrating, but.
Yeah, I'd
So,
make a motion that we ask them to go up to continue the survey up to the Hill Road.
the Hill Road and not the whole enchilada, go to Hill. And that way it would get us from the top of the hill, which turns to 50 just before. Does that turn to 50 just before your business, Phil? Is it 50 at the top of the hill just before?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's before you get to your business. They're already accelerating coming down that hill. Yeah.
40 at the top of the hill.
Yeah, oh, it does,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, well, that's interesting. I went one way, didn't come back the other way, so.
I wonder what the new turning lane, what that has done to the flow of traffic. And I know before there was always a, you know, kind of a race up that hill.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's made a difference.
It's,
it seems to have made a difference
Yeah,
coming out of Bruce Mill Road,
yeah.
because you got one line to deal with,
I'm sure it's a lot safer turning in,
turning in and wasting.
especially coming the other way, yeah.
Yeah, if you're going east, get in that turning lane,
Right,
that's way better.
Yeah.
right, and then you're not trying to deal with two lanes of traffic coming at you as opposed to one, you know. All right, so what I'm hearing is that we maybe request that their study that they're doing now be extended beyond Dairy Lane and include up to the Hill Road intersection.
You make that a motion?
Do you need a motion?
Well, I'll do
And
the
I
letter.
made a motion.
Okay, and that's fine. That,
Okay.
yeah, if we can get a second to it, then
I'd like to suggest that the motion be, that it goes at least to the Hill Road. And
okay.
give them
Oh, that's
the
fine.
option
Yeah.
to go be, because it doesn't make any sense, you know, other than cost and expense,
Yeah.
I'm sure, but why wouldn't, you know, it's not that much farther.
No, it isn't.
Beyond that light, I mean,
Yeah.
right?
And Hill Road won't do anything for
Thompson Road,
Right.
yeah, in Trout Brook there.
Which they're supposed to be doing something there at some point, right? You had presented something.
Is,
to us
well,
about that.
they were in town and they wanted to go up to Thompson Road to look at that intersection, and we kept complaining that Limerick Road was the one that we really needed to look at, but I think they had a serious crash up there that sort of brought some more interest in looking at Thompson Road.
Yeah, 'cause
Is there a blinking yellow light there now? Is there a
No.
yellow light? There's nothing
Nothing.
there, is there?
Nothing.
there's nothing, because there was a discussion about putting a light, a light there. And we questioned why put a light, and a comment was, well, everybody's racing up the hill, and when they come to the crest of the top of the hill, if there was a light there, they would see the light. That was the discussion there. I'm not sure where it came from. I thought it came from you, from what the DOT said, but.
I'd have to look back at my notes to see
No,
if
I
they were
didn't- I
talking
didn't
about
bring
it.
that up, but-
Yeah, well, I don't know, maybe you did.
No.
But yeah, I thought they were talking about perhaps a blinking yellow light to show caution there, and maybe crossroad to try to keep traffic at a minimum. But yeah, that's a good suggestion, at least
At
to Hill
least.
Road.
Yeah.
And that way it gives them the option to go for and
I'll
out.
amend my motion for that.
Okay,
Do we have a second?
Second.
And that's Tom seconded that.
okay,
All right, all in favor? Yes.
thank you.
And we might also mention, we would like to know what they have been discussing about the Thompson Road, Troutbrook Road intersection.
Sure.
This, Wayne, I talked to Wayne about that, and Wayne's like, there's nothing in the budget that he sees on that at all.
Wayne did talk to me again, or sent me an email this morning reference to anytime that we have some issues that are related to any accidents or any activity up on that road, that we should be contacting the commissioner immediately. So I think that's something that we can start doing, because he says, I've been dealing, I'm talking to him and I'm telling him he needs to get out there and he needs to get, he needs to see what we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So if we send the crash information immediately, that may be helpful to them as well, but.
So we had one on 6-9.
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought so too.
I must have dreamt that one.
Yeah, you probably did. Just before we get into payables and wrap up the meeting, I did provide to you what the the Maine Turnpike Authority provided me in terms of their capital investment plan for the highway corridor in 2025 through 2028. So it appears in the year of 2026, they're going to do a pavement rehab for the main line pavement rehabilitation from 27.2 mile to 30 mile. So that must be part of Arundel that they'll be doing. The more interesting one will be in 2028. It appears they're going to the Limerick Road underpass bridge repair will take place. And that's at mile marker 28.3. So those are the only two things within their plan right now that really directly affect Arundel's geographic location.
No more discussion on shortening up the snowplow routes and coming out onto the Limerick Road right across from John. You haven't heard nothing? back
No,
on that
no,
one there?
if you recall, the last thing we heard is that the powers to be from the Maine Turnpike Authority are going to go back and see what kind of right of way they had through there. I think they thought they had more than they actually had, so maybe that prohibited it.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anything else.
How about the payroll and payable warrants?
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? And I think that's the last payable warrant of last year and then the first one for this year. And it does have the checks going out to those 34 people who turned in their dump stickers.
Well said, Norma.
Okay, how about anything else? Any other business?
I do have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, have you heard anything more about the media issue with the seasonal cottages? And they're going to the media about taxes?
No, have not heard anything back. Hopefully we provided appropriate information to the press, so they stop their inquiries. Let's hope.
Make a
Yeah.
motion, we adjourn, you ready?
Yep.
Make a motion, we adjourn at 7:38 PM.
Motion's made. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? All righty.